a Playlyst original.
Welcome to the Pilot Podcast,
where we review the pilot episodes of TV shows to answer your question, should I watch this?
My name is BJ.
And my name is Mitu.
And this week, we're watching Selling the City on Netflix, Missing You on Netflix, Going Dutch on Fox, and Shifting Gears on ABC.
So stay tuned to the end to find out what really angers BJ.
I, too, will need to think about it so we can all figure it out.
I mean more like pet peeves. That sounded like a big therapy question, but more like the pet peeves and shifting gears.
Much easier question.
Let's get to the core of who you are. What makes you tick?
That's a tough question as well.
Until then, why don't you take us to the cutthroat world of New York City real estate?
You're talking about Selling the City on Netflix. This series follows 8 realtors in New York City, 6 women and 2 men who mainly work for Douglas Elliman, one of the largest real estate brokerages in the U.S. And in this, we're going to see the luxury housing market led by Eleonora Strugo and her team. So, Mitu, what did you think of this new addition to the growing world of real estate shows?
I thought it was pretty solid. You know, you and I are owning Manhattan Hive. And then, of course, in the selling world, I think both of us can say our favorites have been Selling the OC and the very short-lived, but very unfortunately short-lived Selling Tampa, which was the best. In this case, what I like about Selling the City is it feels very real. These are people who are closing real business deals, and the drama feels real too. We have a maybe villain character in Jade, we can say. She is frenemies with Eleanor. I think that's kind of hard because you have to be friend to Nemi, and they're not the friend part of that. But the drama between them feels very real too. They don't like each other in real life. That's my impression. Whether the cameras are there or not, I don't think they were getting along.
I get the same impression. And I think bringing up Owning Manhattan is a good comparison, because similarly, this feels like real estate deals. These are real luxury homes that they are selling and not just touring them to show us, the audience, what they look like on the inside. And the dynamics are so interesting. Eleonora has this conflict with Jade, even though they've known and worked with each other for so long. We also have Justin, who's not on her team, but is her coworker and her ex.
One-time lover, it seems.
Yeah, they have crossed the friendship line at one point, and now they're just solid buddies.
Because Eleonora puts business first.
That is true.
We also have Taylor, who is from Tennessee, but has been doing well in the big city, seems to be Eleonora's star member of her team. And it looks like Jade is interested in taking Taylor from Eleonora, which is a bigger issue for her because Eleonora is about business.
I mean, it is rude of Jade to do that in front of Eleonora.
Sure.
But also, Jade sees talent and is like, let me give you an offer.
And then we have the side characters of the other real estate agents who were not invited to that fancy lunch. There was a moment where we watched 3 women try to open 1 bottle of alcohol, but because of their nails, had to really put together a brain trust to figure that out. That was fascinating to see adults do, like genuinely a riveting 120 seconds for me.
But they got there and they had their midday shot.
Spoiler.
Well, watch to find out if they get their midday shot.
The reason I keep saying Eleonora's name is because I think they did a great job finding a star to center this around. She was fun TV.
She is honest, she's open, she's driven, and I feel like she is a kind leader. So she has what you need for a good reality show, and you can root for her. You want her and her team to succeed.
And you see that she's willing to kind of do anything for success. She even rents an apartment in a building where she wants to sell the other units. So she wants to have that first-person access to this building and really personal anecdotes to share to people that she's selling to. Do you need to live in a building to sell it? Probably not. Are there additional reasons she's renting? Actually, yes. She shared that she is spending money on herself in order to prim and make herself as beautiful in her eyes as possible to find a husband, which is the bigger investment for her than owning a home. But I just thought it was interesting that the place that she chose to rent in order to spend her money on clothes and appearance is a building that she's trying to sell.
I think it's clever. A lot of people love to live near their office to shorten that commute.
Mm-hmm.
And she said mine will be the elevator to whatever floor I'm selling next.
So, with that, do you want to watch her sell more and more floors of her own building and others on Selling the City on Netflix?
I have a rating and a confession, me too.
Okay.
My rating is would watch again seriously. I think this is a great real estate show, easy to watch and entertaining. And my confession is I have seen episode 2.
Oh, so you broke the rules. You disrespected the listeners and the concept of this show.
I got very excited and wanted to double confirm my rating for the listeners so that when I recommend it, it is wholehearted and genuine.
Okay, so when somebody else does it, like me, it's not necessarily wholehearted, genuine. I'm breaking the rules.
Right. Your
but when
intent
you do
is different.
Oh, it's intent. Like your heart is open.
Yes.
Okay, sounds good.
My heart is open outwardly. Yours is inward.
Okay, with that, I also would watch again seriously. I have only seen the first episode because this is the pilot podcast.
Oh.
But I will watch again seriously. This is clearly built for you to marathon. And while I don't think it is as good as Selling the OC or Selling Tampa, it's very fun.
So how about we go from real estate to detective mysteries?
You're talking about Missing You on Netflix. Based on the novel of the same name by Harlan Coben, we follow Kat, played by Rosalind Elazar, a detective who discovers her missing fiancé on a dating app 11 years after his disappearance, which leads her to reopen her investigation into his epic ghosting and her own father's murder.
So Me Too, what did you think of our opening scene that really showed us what Detective Inspector Kat Donovan is all about?
It was very funny. We open with her on a first date and crime happens at the restaurant. And she just shows in a number of ways how capable she is. I'm used to seeing this on procedurals where, you know, they solve a problem or spot something someone else in the room just absolutely would never notice. And it just tells you, okay, the person investigating this mystery is really smart. And so we had that moment with Kat, but it was pretty over the top.
It got to be a little silly. It did show us how well she performs in a crisis, her combat abilities, quick thinking, medical skills.
I'm sorry, it's true. It's combat, medical skills, crisis intervention, being able to de-escalation. Like, she really
spotting things, like her observation skills, because she just looked like through the pass in the kitchen and saw the conflict.
Task delegation, team motivation. She got everybody to help her at the end. She knew who to assign what.
It was impressive. And I think it would have landed better if it connected to the rest of the episode. I felt like it was a jarring cut from that opening scene to then getting into the mystery of her missing fiancé.
I think it could have even been connected to the episode more tonally, because I really don't mind when procedurals do this. I think it's fun when they have a moment where you see what they're good at before you see them then apply that same skill to the mystery that matters, the case of the week or the larger mystery of the season or series. But in this case, I think what was a bit abrupt about it was that we went from this really exciting first couple minutes to then a pretty slow build mystery.
True. We got some action up front, but then the show was not action-packed. It was a lot of conversations.
And I think that this show was really made for Netflix in the sense of it's okay that it goes slowly, because I assume that they assume most people will kind of view this in an afternoon. But it was a bit slow in pace. What I will give the show, though, is there was a good layering between the three mysteries. The missing fiance, the mystery of her own father's murder years prior, and then the case of the week, which I'm sure we'll learn is tied to the mysteries of the past.
I did like that they were hinting that everything's connected. I will say, of the three, the case of the week grabbed me the least. I was much more interested in her seeing her fiance again and wanting to know, what's that about?
Yeah.
And us diving deeper into the loss of her father. We got to meet some of her family and just understand the trauma that she had to deal with.
I also couldn't tell if they were teasing something with one of her friends, that person might be in on one of the mysteries. Unclear.
Ooh, that makes sense. I bet everyone around her is in on it.
That's true. After we watched Harlan Coben's Shelter, which I continued watching, it definitely was like, there was not a single person in that town who was not part of the mystery.
That's stressful.
Like the person selling you things at the bakery, the custodian at your school, your classmates, your teacher. In that show, there was not a single person that did not have a hand in this. The baseball coach, everybody. In this case, I wonder if it's going to be similar where even maybe her friends know more than they're letting on, which makes it an even bigger possible betrayal or whatever the feeling will be, because those are the people that she confides in.
True. And right now, Kat seems to trust everyone in her life, all of her coworkers, her friends, her mother. So we'll have to see. And will you be there to see what happens next on Missing You on Netflix?
I do want to keep watching seriously, not necessarily because it's a very compelling mystery. So if you're not Mystery Hive, I don't think this is the one to bring you in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it just seems like a nice, cozy mystery story to watch for the rest of your Sunday, which we are recording this midday Sunday. As soon as we're done recording, I'm probably going to curl up on the couch with this show for the rest of the afternoon.
The Arctic winds are blowing, so a cozy mystery is appropriate.
Exactly. Ooh, I might make a little cocoa. Now I'm excited for this.
Well, as someone who also only watched the first episode, I am excited.
Surprising.
And I would watch again casually. I think this mystery does well with ending with an intriguing hook that makes you want to watch episode 2. And I'm sure they're going to do that with every single episode up to the finale. And I'm here for it.
That's true. They are going to do that. All right, Beach. Well, why don't you take us from the UK to the Netherlands?
You're talking about Going Dutch on Fox. Colonel Patrick Quinn, played by Dennis Leary, is reassigned to lead garrison Stroopsdorf, a military base in the Netherlands that is the least important army base in the world. There, he's going to restore discipline and professionalism, but he also has to deal with his estranged daughter. So, Mitu, what were your first impressions?
I thought it was funny that Dennis Leary is playing a loudmouth because he's good at that. And so it was funny to see what got him in trouble that then landed him in what is, quote, the least important army base in the world. And I thought some of the gags when he toured the base were funny. So there were some cute laughs in this workplace comedy of him seeing the cheese, the fromagerie.
It's very nice.
Very nice. All the people on bikes, which alarmed him. And then the number of people who weren't even in uniform, because what are we in uniform for?
And the teen rec center with no teens.
Yes, they just got the budget for it. I loved that in Dana, the logistics manager, played by Lacey Mosley, which is funny because Lacey Mosley's brand is Scam Goddess. That's her podcast, her book. She has a show.
So they linked it. Wow.
Yeah, so I think they linked her character kind of taking advantage of the budget of the army to what we know her for. Being very resourceful, yes.
Yeah.
There's all this money laying around. We may as well have a teen center. You don't have to be a teen to enjoy a beanbag chair and some TV.
People were having fun in that teen center.
I'd enjoy it.
And it is interesting to see how the daughter, Captain Maggie Quinn, played by Taylor Misiak, has turned this into this top tier service base. They have a Michelin star restaurant. They have excellent laundry services. They're well known for their bowling. And she has been building relationships with the people in the Netherlands. And so it was, I guess, fun to see Patrick come in and think that his methods could just immediately be applied to this space.
Yes, I don't think the comedy is super sharp in this show, but that was a funny turning things on its head where you think it's going to be a story where he comes and he shapes these misfits into, some fancy army base, when we learn that what Maggie is doing is actually raising morale. People are really happy. Like you said, she's building really great community. And she has this fantastic base, not necessarily military fantastic, like weapons or whatever, but, a place where people want to be. And so that's going to be an interesting dynamic of their generational gap in their approach to being leaders and in their relationship with each other because they're estranged. And then we have his kind of pseudo child and his right-hand man, Abraham, played by Danny Pudi.
Who, I'm going to be honest, y'all, it's hard to see him outside of Community.
Yeah.
But I think you did pull off a really fun and important character who basically is your secretary / brains behind Patrick, who knew what was going on, knew how to handle him, and will probably bridge that gap between Patrick and Maggie.
He plays a very similar character on Mythic Quest, where he is the number 2 to like powerful people and makes them believe that his ideas are their ideas. So then they are able to function better.
And really, sometimes that's the role you should aim to be in.
That's true. Business advice from BJ. That's the podcast spinoff.
Yeah.
As inspired by Danny Pudi roles.
I don't want to be the face, but I want to be in control.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
That was a quote from Me Too. She is actually running some of the biggest businesses in the world, and you would never know.
I certainly don't. So it's really well hidden, very discreet.
Impressive.
Yeah, I guess.
Were you impressed by Going Dutch on Fox?
I would watch again casually. It wasn't the sharpest comedy. It wasn't the best opening first episode to me, but this feels like one where it's so silly that there is the potential for it to get better. And I think this might be one of those where as you keep watching, you'll start falling in love with the characters and you'll become part of the town a bit more, if you will. So I'll keep watching casually for that reason. I'll give it a few more episodes and let this show breathe a bit. Mm-hmm. And I would recommend that to Comedy Hive as well. But if you are not Sitcom Hive, I don't think this one is for you.
I think this was tough since I only watched the pilot episode. I would watch while folding laundry. And I think right now all the characters seem a little too one note, especially Patrick. I hesitate because I want to see more well-rounded character development.
That makes sense.
So how about we go to another show about an estranged father-daughter pair?
You're talking about shifting gears on ABC. Widower Matt, played by Tim Allen, is a man's man with an auto shop and estranged relationships with his family. He has a chance to perform the ultimate restoration when his daughter Riley, played by Kat Dennings, moves in with her 2 teens after separating from her husband.
Tim Allen is back in a classic sitcom. Really feels like we're back in the 90s.
Tim Allen is giving us Home Improvement. He's giving us Last Man Standing. He said this shtick has worked since 1985. And guess what? It's going to keep working. And I'm sure it will.
And Kat Dennings said, what do I do best? A primetime network sitcom.
Where I am like the black cat character and I'm kind of sour a little bit on things. That's her beat.
And, I think it's beating. I liked the chemistry between both of them. I felt like they were father-daughter, even though I don't think they look enough alike.
At all.
But I felt the tension between them. We go over a lot of the history with the loss of her mother, how he really hates her husband, and I bought it.
That's good. I don't know that I necessarily bought it, but I think that they're both very good at that type of comedy, and they were able to do it at each other successfully for this pilot. What I liked more was the workplace comedy piece at the auto shop with Gabriel, played by Sean William Scott, and Maxwell, played by Daryl Mitchell, two people who work there. I thought their dynamic was funny. And then they made Matt's character, to me, a little bit more bearable when they challenged him a bit on just being so annoying and, old man shaking fist at Sky.
Yeah, and I felt the same way whenever Matt was with his two grandkids, Carter and Georgia. I think they helped soften him a bit more as well. And I like the tension it caused between Matt and Riley when Matt is kind of letting the grandkids, bring out the phones at the table.
Yeah.
Let's go do a test drive of a car. That was fun to see.
And I'm sure we're going to see Matt and Riley learn from each other some parenting things where Matt is forcing her to let go a bit. And then he's also learning from Riley maybe what a bit more active parenting looks like. And so I think they're going to teach each other.
Yeah, we're going to have some of those heartfelt family moments of now we're a new family unit and we're all going to, come together, compromise on a few things for the good of all of us.
But I think the main thing that took me out of the show was just the fact that it's the year of our Lord 2025. And this man really told mid-90s, one of the jokes he said, one person tells you the news and three others tell you what to think. And it's just I cannot do Tim Allen does topical jokes, he was complaining about how news works with the kids, even though he has to watch it every morning. He debated with his granddaughter because she said she doesn't need to get married. And he said, if you want to kill a spider, a man's going to look pretty darn good then. And then with his grandson who didn't know how to drive, he said, Jesus didn't Uber. He takes the wheel.
That was kind of good.
And then even when he had a heartfelt moment with Riley and talking about how lonely he's been, maybe because he's estranged everyone around him, he goes, that's why I watch the morning news, because I appreciate being able to hear a woman's voice, even though sometimes it's Nancy Pelosi.
That was a weird one.
Yes. And then Riley countered with, it's annoying how she's trying to save democracy, which it's don't take me out of it. Please just let me have fun sitcom world. And that's why I referred the dynamic of the auto shop folks, because there wasn't necessarily the political back and forth. Yeah. Not to sound like get that woke off my TV, get the politics off my TV, but rather it just was annoying discourse, I should say.
Unnecessary.
It wasn't sharp enough to include, so just don't do it.
Let's talk about cars and how you two are upset over this broken relationship.
Yes, let's hammer in that metaphor a few more times about the restoration of you two, but let's not do women do this and men do this. Please, not now.
On a positive note, more positive. That's a very valid, positive critique. I'm curious what Riley is going to do now that she's come home. There is no plan to restore her life yet.
Yeah, restore.
So I want to know where this is going to go, because they didn't really lead into what future episodes might be about.
That's true. And I bet we're going to have an episode or two at least of the ex-husband either getting to know him or of her being on the fence about divorcing him.
Well, did you, and maybe this was just me, pick up some vibes between Riley and Gabriel?
I think anyone can have vibes with Sean William Scott. But yes, I definitely picked up on those vibes.
That could also cause some tension with Matt. But we'll see. Or maybe we won't. Will you see more episodes of Shifting Gears on ABC?
No.
Oh.
I don't think I would watch this again. And the reason I wouldn't watch this again is because this type of humor does not work for me anymore. If I want to watch Home Improvement, it will come on Netflix in a couple weeks, I learned, in the new and upcoming on Netflix.
Okay.
So I can just watch a show from the 90s. But there's too much fun TV right now for me to go back to that type of humor. However, that is a very popular type of humor. Obviously, it is very successful, or we wouldn't have Last Man Standing and all of the other iterations of that show still existing through today. And so I think if that is your jam, like these family sitcoms, especially like boomers do this, and you millennials, even though millennials are like 45 years old, you millennials
Not all
do
of them.
this. But I think if you're into that dynamic, which I think a lot of people are, then this is for you, because it's a pretty solid entry into that genre. Is just, if you're not that kind of sitcom person, which I'm not, then I'm not going to keep watching because it's not for me or for us if you are also not into that type of thing.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I would watch it while cooking. I think this is, and this is going to sound harsher, but I don't know a better way to say it.
Okay.
A decent background show.
That's real.
Like, you don't need to be that invested. You don't need to pay that much attention. But if you don't want to cook in silence, and maybe you don't want a song because you don't want to get distracted by like singing along, or you don't want a podcast because I'm not in the mood to learn something, this could work.
I love watching movies from the 2000s featuring like fabulous B or even A-list stars while I cook, especially if it's like a more elaborate meal. Most recently, I watched Heartbreakers starring Sigourney Weaver and Jennifer Love Hewitt.
Okay.
Really fun, just classic early 2000s flick. And it was just a perfect, while I'm cooking, have this thing on in the background movie. So I get that. And I don't think it's an insult.
There you go. Every show can fill a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you want to know about me? Me too?
What's a pet peeve? You know, is it young girls who don't think about their future husbands? Is it kids don't know how to drive? Is it children with teen Uber accounts? What's your old man shaking fist at sky pet peeve?
Oh, I don't think this is a pet peeve, but I will say I agreed with Matt's character a little bit when I thought it was odd to just rely on an Uber account versus getting a driver's license. I feel like if you have the means to take driver's ed and get a driver's license, it's good to have that because you never know when you might need to drive a car. We're still a very car-focused society and country. And Ubers can get expensive.
That's true. I think that's a good one. Shout out to Eleonora learning how to drive, but not knowing which is the brake and which is the gas. I realize we didn't discuss that in our review, but that was a terrifying thing to hear someone with a driver's license say.
That's true. Although New York City is such a different environment when it comes to cars.
Oh, for sure. She'll like never drive again.
Yeah.
I don't drive. I live in a city. I drive
you went
like
full city.
once a year when I visit my parents. That's it.
And you're like, which one is the goey, which is the stoppy?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you can find more of our opinions and reviews of shows by heading to our website, thepilotpodcast.com, and you can follow us on all of your favorite podcast platforms.
You can also follow us on social media at The Pilot Pod, and you can send thoughts, feelings, show recommendations, your man shaking fist at sky, pet peeves to askthepilotpodcast@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Bye.